Zigzag has over 200 local warehouses in 130 countries, but to help customers get faster refunds. And importantly, Zigzag recently announced their investment exit to global refunds provider Global Blue. So very good year for our. So congratulations, Carl. Avoco is a Lithuanian-based marketplace building circular economy for used car parts by providing business management solutions, handling the complete customer service process and shipping, including returns, which is very topical for today. Avoco has 989 sellers based in 5 countries, and the marketplace is used for any used car parts across Europe. Thanks for joining us today, guys. So I just wanted to pose some questions. So to the audience today, if you want to at any point sort of jump in, this is a fireside debate. So by all means, put your hand up, and obviously I'll ask questions and you can assist with today. So our first question for you today. So I touched upon Zigzag in the intro. However, can you just tell us more about obviously how you manage returns globally and how you're assisting customers?
Sure. So my background's a retailer. So I was a retailer for about 20 years before I started the platform. So I've seen the pain that retailers go through trying to manage returns, and many retailers were trying to build this themselves and quite honestly failing. And I thought there was a better way for retailers to deal with it. So before Zigzag, the concept for a retailer is to get customers to have to go through the concept of having to post it back, and at best a retailer may have had a label in a box to make it a little bit easier for a customer to post goods back, but those goods still had to cross barriers. They had to go around the world, and it wasn't really a sustainable solution that met the needs of retailers. So we decided to build some software that could facilitate that return to help bring back a parcel from anywhere to anywhere, using a carrier agnostic platform. So it could use post office, parcel shop, locker, collection from home. And obviously the collection from home has really become a lot more important during the pandemic. And that comes into a local returns address to help that consumer bring products back efficiently and quickly so that they can have their refund pretty much immediately. So it could be as soon as you've dropped the parcel off. And then we consolidate those parcels and bring them back to the retailer, or we provide a network of other distribution. So we could actually resell in local market. We could pass on to a marketplace. We could send to your store that needs the stock, or we could even dispatch the goods to another consumer that's ordered the same item. And for me, that was the kind of holy grail of a return solution to be able to deal with that stock in local market and not have to send a plane load to Australia every day, and bring half a plane load back back again. It just didn't make sense to do that. So that's really where the concept started with my retail background. And then I have grown the business over the last few years. We're now around 100 people. We're in 130 countries, and we're in 30 languages. We're working with some very large retailers, both domestically and internationally.
Amazing. Thank you. And Carl, you're coming from the marketplace side of things, so returns obviously are important to your business based on the reseller side of things. How do you sort of manage returns?
Yeah, so I think in the introduction to this session, it mentions trust and confidence. Being a used parts marketplace, the perception of that is necessarily not the trust and confidence in the products. And as an example, we've got over 4 million individual products listed on our site, and there's a lot of makes, models, and compatibility. So the customer, knowing that if they order the wrong part and it doesn't fit, that process of getting it back to us is as easy as possible. And that's probably a common thing, right? Someone gets it and attempt it. It's probably similar to fashion, the fact that, if it doesn't fit, you can't use it. So exactly that.
Yeah, excellent. And just touching on that marketplace side, sorry. the marketplace side of things. You mentioned obviously with that many items on there and all that. Do you like the trust element? You mentioned trust, and I think marketplace trust is a big thing, and returns plays into that. How do you currently monitor that trust as a marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. We look at actually our return rate's around 4%. So not as high as it could be. So it builds that fact that the customer has that option to get it back to us. I know some of the points we go into later around the sort of paid or free versus model and returns policies are obviously important to help build that trust as well. But I think we'll touch on that a bit later on. So.
Excellent. Sounds good. Al, just in regards to, obviously we've been in logistics a long time. Everything going back to, early days when I was with Spring and everything was about manual. It was manual returns, it was manual shipping and all that. How did you sort of make that graduation to get people to move from a manual process into using technology more efficiently?
I think even as little as 5 years ago, retailers were still using spreadsheets to manage returns, and some probably still are today.
Is anyone still doing that? Show of hands. Yeah.
There you go.
Not shocking, actually.
It's not shocking. Yeah, it doesn't shock me. And that was really what Zigzag was set up to replace. So the traditional model of having a label in a box actually is outdated now, particularly with things like Brexit, because you've got a need to declare goods for customs purposes, for example, if they're crossing borders. And if you've sent 3 goods out and only 1 item is coming back, you don't know which item is coming back if you've used a label in the box until it arrives. So the customs declaration that went out with the goods is now invalid to bring the goods back. So we're providing a digital solution. It's a returns portal. We're pushing the customer online, which is collecting that data to enable the consumer to tell you what they're returning and then telling you why they're returning. So we know who, what, where, when and why the items are coming back. We also know how they're coming back because we're giving the customer a lot of choice around how they return. So do they want to return to a 24-hour supermarket because they can't get out of the house during the day anymore because they're working, or do they want to have it collected from their doorstep? And then the retailer needs that choice around, do I want to offer free returns or paid returns? And do I want to offer a 30-day window or a 14-day window or an extended window over peak, for example? So we're working with lots of flexibility in the platform to replace those manual inputs. So when the goods actually arrive back in the warehouse, the person that scans those goods knows what's in the box. They're acknowledging it and they're triggering and pushing that refund to the customer immediately without needing to manually type anything. So it's literally scan, done. And the benefit of that is retailers have got visibility, so they know what's coming back.
And there's a lot of data saying that if you speed up that process and the return comes back quicker, the likelihood of people repurchasing immediately goes up.
Yeah, the loyalty piece is huge. So we're doing a lot to help retailers keep hold of the customers that they fought so hard to win in the first place. But a good returns experience is far more likely to result in a repeat purchase, and a negative returns experience, you can pretty much guarantee that customer won't come back. So it's critical.
Very costly to get it wrong. Yeah.
It is, but it's there are so many ways you can get it wrong. So it could be speed, it could be cost, it could be the inconvenience for that customer and the hassle factor that they have to go through.
Yeah.
So there's a real benefit to making that process easy, even though the perception might be, oh, it's going to increase my return rate.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think it will. I think it'll increase your satisfaction rate.
Yeah, certainly. Is there anyone in the crowd who's had a negative experience on returns that's cost them customers that they'd like to share? No?
I mean, it's an easy thing, right? So I just had to send back some phone covers or whatever. And I was simply, it wasn't being too lazy, right? I admit. But also, I'm working like crazy from in the morning to late, and then I'm not able to find something where I can just drop that, right?
Yeah, drop points, yeah.
It's like, I mean, from a convenience perspective, it doesn't matter how good you are, it's still not good enough, right? Unless you really come to me and say, give it to me, I will take care, right? So from that point of view, you're absolutely right. So offering that you directly go to the customer and get it back, right? That's most probably the best thing. And especially from one particular angle that I would like to ask the question, if I'm allowed to.
Yeah, of course.
Because,
yeah, quite nice.
and maybe just, I'm from operations Wayfair, so
Yes.
furniture and stuff. So a big problem is fraud. Fraud in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Customers just sending different stuff back or whatsoever. So
Yeah.
huge variety. So how do you deal with all that fraudulent situations and so? Because if you pick it up at the door, that would be an easy fix because you see is it the actual customer.
But it's a bit expensive to do that all the time, isn't it? Yeah.
Right, but if I look into the losses incurred by
Maybe it's not expensive. Yeah, exactly.
what are your experience around that?
So on the fraud piece, I think our experience is that there is less than 1% fraud. That fraud definitely exists, and fraud is different in different areas. But my opinion is you shouldn't punish the 99% for the 1% that will defraud you. And so what is important to do is try and set thresholds based on data. So what we're looking at is the value of the goods. We're looking at the history of the customer. We're looking at the type of the customer. So we put customers into different brackets or buckets. So you've got VIPs that are regular shoppers, and you trust them because they're regular customers with a long lifetime spend. You've got first-time buyers that you possibly don't trust yet, but you want to keep them happy and convert them. You've got fraudulent customers that you know are fraudulent, either because of previous returns behaviour or because your fraud checker tells you they're fraudulent, and then you might have a guest checkout that you don't know anything about. And so we've got a different kind of profile set against those people. So you could say my VIP customer gets an instant refund as soon as they request a return or have dropped the return off. But a guest checkout customer doesn't get a refund until the goods have arrived in my warehouse. And the fraudulent or suspected fraudulent customer doesn't get a refund until I've inspected the goods, and if I want to, I can block that customer from buying again because I'm picking up those fraudulent customers out of that 1% bracket, and so the next time they go to buy, they actually won't be able to check out because you've identified them and blocked their purchase over time. So the data and the reporting is really important to be able to actually understand that, and that's where that sort of manual spreadsheet doesn't tell you that, but the returns portal will. And so being able to deal with that, it's not practical for us to get every DHL driver or Hermes driver or postman to inspect the goods on the doorstep. That's not going to happen. But we can put checks in place and monitor customer performance and their behaviour over time.
Cool. Thank you. Carl, just obviously as a marketplace, your whole business is based around technology. So, that's how people are engaging with you. I guess there is an expectation when you are a marketplace or an online retailer that if people engage with you online, that they expect the same sort of level of service on returns and, any issues that they encounter. How does that sort of trend, come through in your business?
So I'm happy to mention that the solution that the gentleman just mentioned is the route we decided to go down at Avoco. So despite the fact we deliver it to a locker and you pick it up from a locker, if you want to return that parcel, we will come and collect it and do the collection request from the place to make it as
is that the nature of the products?
Possible.
Is that the reason why? So if someone's shipping a whole bumper bar, then difficult to ship to begin with.
Yeah.
So to actually come and collect it, they get the opportunity to check that it is what it is.
Yeah, and we also it doesn't matter the size, shape, weight. Even if we deliver it to the locker, we will do the return from the home address.
Okay, amazing.
Just to keep that confidence and keep that building. And obviously in terms of the technology side, I think as Al's mentioned, the label in the box is not the solution anymore, and that we need to be more sensible. I mean, even before that, expecting customers to print their own labels and stick on boxes to return is needs to be moved away from. So.
Certainly. And I'll just pose another question to you. So I'm from the logistics side, carrier side for a period of time. Your relationship with carriers for both of you, and obviously starting with you, Carl, like when you're saying you're going collecting, is that your own fleet doing that, or you've got relationships with other carriers as well?
So it's collection requests through our carrier partners.
Okay, yeah. And obviously this would be different to what they'd normally do. So have you negotiated that yourself, or how's it work?
Yeah, I mean, as C2C is obviously also becoming more popular in the marketplace, and obviously single collections aren't the most cost effective. But obviously, if you build that density and urban areas, is not so much of an issue. Yeah,
cool. And our obviously, knowing Zigzag well, the carriers are such an important part to your business. So how do you see the carriers, or how are you engaging with the carriers when it comes to returns? Because obviously, typically, they're more focused on outbound, so the returns isn't always their core.
Yeah, I really think that's changing now, and more of them are recognising that returns are growing and growing importance both for their business and also for their customers, so the retailers. So they are taking more care over returns. Carriers are the lifeblood of Zigzag, so we are very reliant on strong partnerships, but we are agnostic. So we're working across the spectrum with various different providers, and pretty much all providers, for pickup, drop-off, parcel shop, locker, and so on. We're seeing a bit of a changing dynamic from what we would expect a few years ago. It was very much postal. Now people are much more comfortable using parcel shops and even lockers over the last few months, particularly with the pandemic. So more people wanting a contactless solution where they don't have to meet a driver or have somebody coming to their doorstep. They're happy to go and drop it off in a locker where they don't have to interact with a human. So that's increased. And then also collection from home has improved massively. I mean, that's the biggest growth area for us, where actually customers now will pay a bit extra to have it collected from their doorstep because they're maybe still working from home and they haven't got the flexibility to leave. So there's a shift in kind of consumer behaviour, but the carriers are definitely taking returns a lot more seriously as a revenue stream for themselves, but also as a full service offering.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
And what we're also doing is we're white labeling and selling our solution to carriers. So people like DHL and FedEx are white labeling the Zigzag solution to sell to their clients. So it might be that a post office or a parcel shop does the first mile, comes into a Zigzag warehouse, and then DHL or FedEx will do the final mile back to the retailer, because that particular carrier doesn't want to have or doesn't need to have a local PUDO network in every country, but it can do that final mile movement.
Yeah, it's definitely where you make massive gains as a business when you do the white labeling solutions. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously big volume attached to that. I mean, we're shifting millions of parcels every month to help these retailers repatriate their goods. And the importance now for the carrier on returns is kind of as much as 25-30% return rates in some markets. So, and it could be in fashion, it might be close to 50%.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Carl, just in regards, so I guess the impact, we've spoken about the impact of returns and the positive aspect. I guess what impact for you as a marketplace, because you are removed sometimes from you're facilitating transactions, but you're not the one doing the transaction necessarily. What's the impact of not providing a good return? Has that come back to you, like from a social media perspective, or just as a business in general?
Yeah, so I think one of the issues we faced is that our network is a vendor network. We're a marketplace, but we ended up with returns being sent back to our office address. We end up with an office full of returns that then we need to redistribute, organise, and get back out to the vendors before we could process those refunds. which obviously delays the process for the customer. So having that, clear process and using technology to make sure that the returns actually go back to where they're supposed to go to speed that process up. So.
Yeah, cool. Just a show of hands from the audience. So how many retailers in here are doing their own returns in-house? So it's quite a few still doing it. Does anyone want to pose a question about why you've kept it in-house versus outsourcing to a third party or potentially utilising a technology solution like Zigzag?
Well, I had the question about that if the label in the box is not the solution, what is the alternative there? Because the courier, the forwarder needs to have a label, right? Or you bring it with him, or?
Yeah, so I think what we can provide to the customer is, first of all, a portal to enable that customer to tell you what's coming back, because that label going out might be 5 items, coming back it might be 1 item. So why would you necessarily need that same service for 1 item that could go cheaply in the post? Or the customer may want choice. They may not want to use the label that is a 2-mile drive away for a drop-off that you've given them and more or less forced them to use, whereas they may have a solution that's literally around the corner or will come to their doorstep to give them choice. So it doesn't have to be a label. It can be a paperless journey, a QR code, but the portal is collecting that data for you and then giving the customer the choice. You're welcome to take a look at the demo of the platform we've got on the stand just outside of here, that can show you what the customer journey looks like. But I think label in the box is 20-year-old technology now, and returns portal is today, and where the market is going is entirely paperless for the customer. So book it on your mobile phone. Everybody knows after the pandemic now what a QR code is and what to do with a QR code, and that you couldn't have said that 2 years ago, but certainly now everybody's really comfortable using QR codes and kind of knows what to show to a post office counter, and then they'll print the label for you, but it will be on an appropriate service for the item that's coming back, and not maybe what is a much more expensive label, because you've factored in the 5 items going out and not the 1 item coming back.
So the consumer would buy on our website, but if they return, they would go to your portal.
Yes, so they buy the item on your website going out, and coming back it will be a fully branded portal for you, so the customer feels like they're on your returns page. It can be even hosted on your website, or we can host it, but it's an end-to-end branded experience for the customer that isn't dragging the customer off to DHL's website or DPD's website. It's keeping it on the retailer's website, and then all the communication that follows that, and that's really important. The SMS that they receive, the email that they receive is branded. The potentially the incentive to shop again. So 10% off your next order or 5% off your next order. All of that's coming from your brand, and not but you reducing the amount of pieces of paper in the box. So we've gone with one retailer, they had 8 pieces of paper in the box going out, so 4 different returns labels, a packing slip, a return slip, a promotional item, and a couple of other bits of paper or whatever.
Probably on sustainability or something. Yeah.
Exactly. And then they've got rid of 8 pieces of paper in the box and gone entirely digital, and they're pushing that customer back online, which is where they want them, so they can shop again.
Very cool. Yeah, get that way. Carl, just you mentioned about obviously the almost white glove service that you provide to customers, which is amazing, and certainly repeat customers. I just wanted to talk quickly around free returns versus paid returns. There was and I was one of these people advocating free returns. I'm sure a few businesses went out of business trying to adhere to that. But how do you sort of approach that, and what do you do as a marketplace?
I hope it doesn't impact our business that much, but we do offer free returns.
Okay.
So 10-day free return policy, even with that collection from home.
Yeah. Yeah. So anytime up to 10 days, they book it.
Yeah.
You guys come and collect it, and you're covering the cost.
No cost to the customer. Yeah.
And that's anywhere in the world?
Yep. Oh, well, Europe.
In Europe, yeah, anywhere in Europe. That's pretty impressive. So, yeah. And how about yourself, Al? What are you seeing from the retailer perspective in that sort of battle versus free versus paid?
So I think around half of retailers now are offering free returns from the data that we see, but they are tailoring it per market. So they're saying you might need to be free in the UK, the US, and Germany, for example, but you might happily be charging for returns in Spain and Italy, because the consumer expectation is not the same in every country, and the level that you can charge for a return also changes. So how much you can charge before the customer doesn't want to shop again. So that's one thing. What we're also seeing, though, is customers buying 2 or 3 items with the intention of returning a product. So it's about a third of shoppers that buy multiple items, and they know there's going to be a return before they've even checked out because they've bought 3 sizes. What we've noticed, though, is the demographic for younger shoppers, that number goes up from 33% to 47%. Yeah. So the problem is going to get worse as the younger shoppers are shopping more, and their expectation around the bedroom is the new fitting room. So they're taking these products either because they can't try on in store because stores are closed for lockdown, or simply they just got used to shopping at home now and they like that convenience.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think years ago in Australia, the Iconic, which is part of the Rocket Internet Group, sort of kicked off the free returns part, and people were buying 10 items and returning 9 for free. And it didn't look too good on the balance sheet, but helped them grow, and they got the investment. They've done very well. But I think that focus is obviously, and it's not for every business, is it? You've got to fit it to your clients or your consumers. Yeah, we've
done a really interesting new feature actually that pushes customers towards a gift card. So the customer still gets the choice to choose their item, return their item, give you the reason why, and then they're presented with the choice of, would you like a refund to gift card that is free, or would you like to pay for your return? And that little mechanism to tip people towards the gift card of a paid return or a free return is helping the retention for the retailer. It's helping cover the cost of those returns where the customer is choosing to pay. So it's a win-win for the retailer. The consumer has a choice. They don't have to take the gift card. They can choose to pay. So you can still say you offer free returns. But it's a really nice feature that we built that can actually promote retention. I think that's the future of I don't think all returns will be free in future. I think there are mechanisms like that are really important.
Definitely. No, thanks for that. And speaking of the future, obviously I joked before, but sustainability is obviously huge. And, I think in, fast fashion, obviously, there's been a lot of talk around that in the last couple of years around the impact on the environment. I think shipping especially, and you mentioned like people having 8 pieces of paper in the box, and then you've got the cardboard, then you've got the delivery costs and different things. How have you found, certainly on your shipping through Europe and that, how much of a focus is sustainability on how you are positioning your business for Voco moving forward?
I mean, obviously, being a used parts marketplace, we're trying to give things a second life anyway, as opposed to just recycling or disposing of. So getting it back out into the economy and finding a use for it. Yeah. Obviously, we wanted to move away from the paper in the box as well and move to a digital solution. Obviously, using 900 odd vendors, relying on them to actually put that paper in the box was actually the challenge. That they would put in some branding and bits and pieces, but not necessarily miss a return label, and then you're just back into the process again of trying to solve that manually. And obviously working with our partners very closely in the delivery methods that we're using, and the partners we choose for those collections and deliveries is becoming more and more important as the sustainable options that are available now.
Yeah. And are you monitoring, have you got to the stage of monitoring those carriers to see if they're, a lot of using carbon credits or, offsetting those deliveries? I know a lot of the leading carriers are very focused.
Yeah, so we're in the very early stages of our own carbon calculator as well, and partnering with another company to assess that all and how it impacts our business.
Yeah. No, definitely. And now, obviously, from your side, obviously, that's probably one of your biggest focuses in talking to people is reducing the impact.
Yeah, it's not just the paper waste impact; it's the landfill impact as well. So we're reducing the air miles that products need to travel by keeping returns more local. We're helping retailers refulfill to new customers. We're reducing landfill by offering alternative exits for products, which could be charity, it could be recycling, it could be resale to a TK Maxx or a third-party clearance house. There is also the paper element, and that particular retailer lost 35 million pieces of paper a year. So it's a lot of trees. And then I think there is also just the benefit of being able to push the customer towards the greener return. So if you want to rank the returns and put a leaf next to the electric vehicle return and try not to get them to choose the diesel vehicle, then that's possible too. So we can calculate the distance that products need to travel as well.
Yeah, excellent. So obviously you mentioned there around reducing the how much stuff travels. One of the aspects that you have as a business is for people to resell in market and to do that type of thing. I guess of throwing it to both of you, the impact across border, and the last year with the pandemic and everything became. I know some of the retailers we're talking to, their volumes as a UK retailer to US almost tripled. Just because everyone was at home and they started buying. Returns cross-border, obviously trying to cut it down, but sort of what impact have you sort of seen on cross-border in the last couple of years, and where do you see the future for cross-border returns, but just trade in general?
So continuous growth that we've seen in cross-border. I think an international strategy for a retailer is now standard. They're not just talking about doing international, they're all doing international now. We did see after Brexit some retailers pause their international shipments because they struggled with data. I think they're over that now. But there's a lot of data that's required to bring a return back, and that's why often the retailers will turn to us for help around that. So we understand everything around the HS codes, the RGR clearance, IOSS for VAT and duty reclaim to get goods back and help save money on that. Or we can help you leave stuff in country to dispose of or recycle, donate, or even resell to the next customer. We've got a number of different solutions around customs to make sure that goods don't get charged with more duty on the way back in, which is a real pain point. And if you ask a consumer to fill in a customs declaration, they'll get it wrong 100% of the time. So what we have is a solution where the customer has 3 or 4 clicks to get through, choose the item, choose the reason, choose the carrier, done, and that's produce your label or your QR code, but it's also pushed all the customs declaration information, both in paper form and paperless, to the carrier and to the warehouse and to the customs broker.
Yeah, excellent. Carl, same for you?
Yeah, I mean, I echo those thoughts. We have the issues again with the goods are coming back in. You're also then paying maybe additional customs brokerage fees just to clear something that's already been cleared to go out. It's the same thing coming back, but you're also paying an additional brokerage fee. And obviously for us, with the offer of the free returns anyway, those additional brokerage fees and customs charges for wrong information obviously really make a huge impact on what was already a small loss can turn into a bigger loss.
For sure. And just posing to the audience, is anyone using sort of any sort of duties and tax sort of calculators or dues and tax providers to get this information for your returns at the moment? No? How about yourselves?
So particularly recently, it's been IOSS.
Yes.
So you might have a seller that's selling under their own VAT number for some transactions, and if they're transacting on a marketplace, they need a different IOSS number coming back. And being able to separate and declare those goods correctly to bring them back in the country is one thing, but then getting the duty and the VAT back is important and very costly for the retailer if they just let it slide. So we've got the data, and that's really important for that retailer. So we're not actually necessarily going to do their VAT reclaim for them, but we will give them on a plate everything they need to do to make that.
It's literally got to the point where you need to have that level, don't you? Because the amount of the cost
to be profitable,
and the governments are certainly cracking down now. They do see the opportunity in claiming on dues and taxes.
Absolutely.
And
if they can charge you again for the same item they've charged you for once before,
get you twice. Yeah, definitely. So we're definitely seeing that. So I just posed to both of you, obviously from the UK. Brexit, pandemic. Now there's HGV, crisis. There's a fuel crisis. The Brexit's gone really, really certainly thrown this at the forefront. Sort of what impact is these sort of things had on returns? Like people are still sending out things. They're still got to use you. Have you sort of seen impacts of these changes in the last 2 years?
Yeah, huge impact, and particularly around data. So retailers not having the data. Pre-Brexit, we had a lot of people sending stuff out, and then the returns window after 1st of January meant that the data wasn't there to bring goods back. So we were literally manually receiving parcels, opening them, noting down the HS codes for them, and then clearing them for customers. It was a messy process, but it had to be done to get goods back. What we've seen is a demand that's increased for retailers to be able to have more local warehouses in local countries, but they don't necessarily need it to be their warehouse. So they just want a provider in another market that can action those products for them. But the speed of refund is absolutely key. A customer doesn't want to be waiting 14 or 30 days for a refund. They want a refund as soon as they demand that they're sending the goods back. So I think that those trigger points, being able to offer instant refunds for customers, we've seen most retailers now offering at least maybe not instant refunds, but faster refunds on at least up to a threshold. So you say up to €50, I'll give an instant refund as soon as I see an in-transit scan, for example. I mean, and the beauty of the software is you can choose which markets, which products, which customers to set those trigger points in. And that is alleviating the customer service cost. It's creating a better customer experience, and it's helping get the goods back in the supply chain more quickly as well.
Excellent.
So I think, one of the biggest things we noticed as an impact is that as soon as the January the 1st hit, the Brexit surcharges came in from pretty much every carrier that we worked with. And previously, we didn't have to attach any customs declarations, and we were looking for a digital solution and to be able to do that, as opposed to relying on the sort of 1,000 vendors to be able to then start managing their own invoices and doing their own customs declarations when, in the used parts industry, they're just not used to that level of detail and paperwork. And then trying to find a carrier that can offer a digital solution for it so we could handle it for them was then challenging. Some of the carriers that we'd been already working with, the answer was just, we're not shipping to the UK anymore. And that was
definitely. So we've got a few minutes left, so I just wanted to throw it to the audience. If there was any questions that you wanted to ask the guys. Go ahead.
One of the reasons we do still internally the returns is because we do on every part that comes back quality check. How does that work with you? What kind of physical tools do you offer?
Yeah, so just so everyone can hear, that's around quality checks. So obviously on returns coming back. So, Al?
So we've got a local. First of all, we've got the data, so we know what should be coming back at least. So we know what was in the box going out and what's coming in the box going back. We know the reason for that return. So if the customer's saying it's damaged, we can inspect that in the first place. If there is, if it's a sizing issue, you're getting that data to understand, is that what we would call a toxic product? So is there a product that's got a higher than above average returns rate and that's causing multiple returns? It could be that it's a sizing issue. It could be that the image on the website's wrong, or it could be quite frequently that it's the wrong item in the picking location and you keep sending the wrong item out. So we can spot those errors. We're giving a quality check to the actual product to make sure that it is the right product in the first place. We're then looking at forgeries and making sure that it's genuine. And we're looking at condition, so we're grading. So A, B, C, D. Grade A is brand new. Grade B is missing its tags, but still in a new condition. Grade C has got some scuffs or marks or damage, and grade D is unsaleable. And grade A may go back into your stock, and we can tell you grade A is available to list right now. Grade B might need to be repacked and sent somewhere else. Grade C might go to a charity, and grade D would go to recycling. So those quality checks mean that you can avoid double handling. And if you don't want grade D back, why would you pay to transport it further? So what we can do is give you that data, including images, including descriptions, including down to the warehouse picker's name or packer's name that's actually done that assessment, and actually an image of that product to show you why it was grade D, so that you've got that confidence to know why goods are coming back.
Excellent. Yes?
One of our problems is oversized items. It seems to be getting worse and worse in terms of carriers wanting to avoid oversize. Do you think that will change over time in terms of there's a niche market that carriers will see a higher margin operation on? Or do you think actually that will get worse as they will become more automated and it will become more conveyor DC?
What do you sell?
So it's curtain poles that we kind of have the blinds, the window blinds.
Yeah. We hangs out the back of the van.
The question was around oversized items. So we call them uglies, and an ugly is basically anything that is too long or potentially balloon items, which are things like pillows that are unprofitable to ship. Yes, there are certain carriers that won't touch them, and I think that may or may not change, but we are seeing more and more carriers in the two-man space starting to recognise there is a market for returns now, and so bringing back white goods, bringing back furniture. Back to your point earlier, we work with people like Made.com and Amara and Zara Home and various people that ship uglies, and I think there is definitely a need for it, but there is a limited number of carriers that will support it today. What I can say is the software supports it, but we are still reliant on a carrier that wants to move those type of goods. But what we can do is offer you the different carrier based on the profile of the product. So we're not sending the same carrier for every journey. We'll notice that this product is an outsize item and this product is a regular size item. So we'll offer the customer the appropriate choice based on what's in their returning basket.
Amazing. We've unfortunately ran out of time. That went really quickly. So really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys, so much. Encourage you to drop by Zigzag's stand, which is around the middle of the hall out there. And obviously, make sure you get all your used car parts from Evoca. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I'd just like to say we've got a retail return study that's got a load of consumer returns behaviour, very, very recently surveyed, that's kind of telling you what the customers want. So please pick one of those up from the stand as well. Thank you.
Thanks.